Ocean Hills at its best is when we are in it together.
And learn, and the other fats do opposite. They actually slow down your whole brain function. So, you know, it's just you want to try and cut back as much as possible with those. Grapeseed oil. Yeah. Obviously you don't have to use coconut for everything, but grapeseed is great because it literally has no taste. And I think you can heat it up to 500.
So avoid canola and
canola.
Or no?
The canola and soybean, you should just avoid those like the plague. But, you know, if you're going to buy something that has, you know, sunflower seed oil, sesame seed oil, things that, you know, they're not horrible, you know. I mean, I have things in my pantry that have, you know, they're hard to avoid, but you just want to try, and it's all about like trying to minimize the things that aren't the best, and then just where you can, you know, put in the other, and then just take out the things that are more detrimental to health, like canola.
Have you seen the normal the butter that's made with yogurt? Have you seen that Brahma?
I haven't read the ingredients.
Okay.
I've seen
I'll read it.
Is it just like just yogurt
Yeah,
and?
well, it's just made with yogurt instead of.
See, and that would be good. Yeah, never, you know, and even with butter, it's the same thing. Full fat and never do the margarine, all the process, it's more chemicals. You know, if you're going to do something, just do it in, like I said, everyone needs more foods in their natural state. If you want butter, great. Have it just pure raw, you know, raw, or if it's pasteurized, just plain. Don't get, you know, low fat, don't get the, you know, a lot of, I worked with a lot of people on, you know, what do you use instead of butter. There's so many different spreads and replacements, and I'm like, either do coconut oil, pure butter, or raw butter. You're better off with that because most of the replacements have all of these, you know, safflower and all these other oils that they're more damaging, and so just go with the real thing. You're always better, especially with kids. Definitely. Okay, so we did the omega-6. And then, so switching from fats, obviously for the brain, you know, the brain does need good protein. That actually helps stimulate the brain cells. And carbohydrates, you know, obviously you want to avoid as many, you know, white flour, the white rice, all the simple sugars, corn syrup, you know, all those types of sugars that actually create hyperactivity in the brain. We definitely, you know, don't want that, and you want as many carbohydrates that are, you know, whether it's whole grains that you cook, like quinoa is my favorite. We eat a lot of quinoa. It's very high protein, good fiber. And anytime you have a carbohydrate that is a good source of protein and fiber, your body uses it very, very slowly. And for kids, it's going to release slowly. It's going to give them energy longer, and it helps brain function. So like quinoa is high fiber, high protein. Your nuts have fiber, and they have protein. Beans have fiber and protein. You're gonna laugh. I cook it up
with coconut water.
Coconut oil. I just cook it up simple, or you could cook it in like vegetable broth, like a, you know, low sodium. And then my boys absolutely love it when I put coconut oil and let it melt into it, and then I put the salt, and they like the same thing with the toast. And then I put nutritional yeast, and then sometimes I'll add like a little cumin and onion and garlic powder, or maybe a little lemon. But it's really good too. Yeah, I mean, it might just be because I'm so used to, obviously, all the coconut oil, but you can totally season it up, and, you know, it'll take on flavors. By itself, it's not as exciting, but
Even if they just eat it by themselves.
oh yeah. Anytime you can add fat to a grain, it's going to help digestion.
Okay.
So that's why I tell people, anything, you know. If you can get a raw fat, that's why I'll put coconut oil on it, or eat avocado with it, eat, you know, nuts with it, or just some type of olive oil. Like, that's why tabbouleh can be great. Like, I make tabbouleh with quinoa instead of the bulgur wheat. And then, I mean, I just douse it in tons of olive oil. And then, you know, all the lemon and all the other herbs and stuff like that.
So what, talking about snacks, I know you're
Yeah.
trying to avoid all that you're like, you know, when you're on the go and you need to put candy.
Yeah.
snacks for the kids.
That,
Do you have ones that you
I go, like, I have... Yeah, the dehydrator, I mean, there's dehydrated sections, so like I'll always just kind of go and see what they have. We'll like try things out, see what they like, and you can find like dehydrated cookies, or like the chocolate cookie, you know, that I have on there. That one's a minty one, but like I'll do a chocolate banana or cranberry mango, and so I just try and have things that I don't have to worry about refrigerating, but that are, you know, as healthy as possible. So the dehydrated foods are great. You can, Yeah, so like there's usually a section, like Whole Foods has like a total dehydrated section. Yeah, it's near the bulk section, and they'll have like, I mean, there's crackers and there's chips. You'll see the kale chips, you'll see, you know, dehydrated bars. There's all kinds of things in there. So like I just will kind of browse through there. I mean, granted, I kind of have the benefit of having a dehydrator. So my backpack is filled with dehydrated foods all the time. So when we're out, because it's so easy to be like, oh, here's some bunny crackers, you know. And granted, there are certain things like that that I do get, you know. But I try to always have those around because they're so nutrient dense that it's like a meal. And if they get full on that and they don't want lunch, I'm like, okay, fine, you know. You add your sprouted nuts and coconut and, you know, all the fats and protein and stuff. So I would just start, you know, looking, seeing what they have. And I did try to put, like, at the very end, I think I gave you a list of, like, companies that don't add a lot of the chemicals and stuff in them that are more clean. So I tried to give you like brands for crackers, brands for, you know, the healthier cookies or the, you know, that type of thing. So hopefully that will help. I mean, because it's hard. I mean, I buy things that aren't perfect. Oops, like my youngest loves the bunny crackers that are just flat. I'm like, well, they're organic, yeah, it's the flour. You know, there's like no nutrition in them, but you know. When he's teething, that is his favorite, and I put coconut oil on top, and he just sits there and sucks on it, and he loves. I'm telling you, if you have a baby, you should try just putting coconut oil in front of him. I mean, he gets when he's in the bath, if he can grab the jar that has the coconut oil. One time, I turned around, and he's sitting there eating half a jar of coconut oil. I mean, he pooped a lot for the next 24 hours. But, you know, it's like they crave it. If you watch babies, you know, they will go for the fatty foods because they're just like their brain is starved for it. They need it. So, you know, yeah. That's my job. So I make food pretty much all day. Like I'm home. My son has preschool 3 mornings a week, but I'm home and, you know, that's kind of what I do is I have my dehydrator. So I make about 300 cookies every week. I do, you know, I'm constantly doing stuff. I juice for people all the time. I do. He, like, sometimes we'll do cartoons. Sometimes he loves to be in the kitchen with me. Like, the whole bottom area of the kitchen is all kid-friendly. It's containers, things that I don't worry about him breaking. So when I'm in the kitchen, he has fun. He comes in there, we'll put on some music. And he has containers everywhere. And he just plays, and then, like, he'll look at what I'm doing, and I'll let him taste things, you know. And he loves to eat the cookie dough that I do for the raw cookies. And I just make it work. Like, they're just used to, like, in the beginning, I remember telling my mom when they were little, I was like, I have all this stuff to do. I have no help. Like, you know, I don't know how. They're just going to have to get used to it. And they did. You know, I started doing that when he was, like, 4 months old. I had to get back into making foods, and so I would have this little playpen in the kitchen. So they've just grown up around me always making food, you know, and I try and make food ahead of time so that I'm not always, like, make big batches of things, too. Yeah. I just, you know, with my first one, he just kind of was ready. At 17 months, he was just kind of, he was about done. And I just finally was like down to one side, and I was like, okay, you're good. Because I always said I at least wanted to do a year, you know, and
7 months.
17. 17, yeah.
Oh, you wanted to do a year, but you kept going.
I wanted to do at least a year, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to let him do what he wants to do, but I'm not one that could see myself over 2 nursing. You know, and as they get older, like, you feel it pull out of your body. Like, I would be nursing him, and sometimes your joints would get a little achy if you know, not getting enough calcium, you know, because they get older, they pull so much out of you. But with my 18-month, he nurses like he's 4 months. He's going strong still. So I'm just kind of going with it, you know, and I try to give him as many other things that have like some similar nutrients in it. So I'm always giving him like fresh almond milk with coconut water and putting that in a sippy cup when I just can't nurse him when he wants to. And that's actually been a really good thing. I think, you know, having something that's a good alternative. And then they feel satisfied. It's not just about the taste or just drinking, but something that's like, that's fatty, that, you know, that tastes good. And I'll put some of there's a brand called Amazing Grass, and they have a kids superfood. Has anyone ever tried that? And they have like a chocolate and a berry, and it's like literally 23 dried fruits and vegetables. And then it has like wheatgrass and spirulina, and they have a berry and a chocolate, and it's sweetened with stevia. And so I started giving that to my first son with the goat milk and the coconut water and almond milk, you know, all kind of shaken up together. And it was like as soon as he started drinking that, he was done with me. it was just like, boom, within like a couple weeks, it was like, I'm done. I have this drink, I love it, and he felt good. So I'm kind of gradually giving stuff to my, my 18-month-old, so, yeah. Mm-hmm. I actually have a couple articles on my website all dedicated to, like, 15 tips, because I had issues with both of mine, like to the point where the doctors were like, oh, you should just give up giving formula. And it took 2 to 3 months before everything was going smoothly with my first one. But I really I kept at it. I didn't stress about it. I tried to just relax, and I never stopped. And it finally, after 3 months, really kicked in. And in the meantime, I would give him little bits of like, goat milk with coconut water if he absolutely just didn't get enough. But, I did all like the mother's milk tincture, and I would do the tea, and, and then I just upped my protein like crazy. And with my second one, it was so much easier because I knew right away, okay, I'm going to start doing like the chia seeds. I was doing like a 1/3 to 1/2 cup every day because the high protein and high fat is really good for milk. So, and I was eating coconut oil, and I still do coconut oil like crazy for the fats for milk production. I'll take a raw cookie and I'll put like 2 tablespoons on it just as a way to get the coconut oil in. Yeah, or I just try and add it on whatever I can just because it's so good for milk production and just, general health. So like, all the fats and avocados and coconut water is one of the best things you can drink for milk production. It's amazing. Like I tell women like a month or 2 before having, their baby, just drink it, and I really believe it makes a big difference. Fenugreek is wonderful, yeah. Oh, I did all of them, but also upping, fat and the protein and coconut water, yeah. Fenugreek is great, yeah. Yeah, I did that. I did like the tinctures. I think I like that better than the tea because the tea was just not enough. So like the tincture, the capsules, yeah. Yeah, definitely, so. All right, let's see. Which what? I don't. Me personally? Oh yeah, actually we do almond milk. Yeah, for adults, like at this point in life, you probably don't need a whole lot of like cow's milk or goat's yogurt. I make almond milk. I actually have a recipe that I could send to somebody that could give to everybody if you want. I don't post it because I do make it and sell it, but I would be happy to share it with you guys. And it's really simple. Like I have with the Vitamix, and you could probably do it in a blender that was just still a good blender, but it's just literally like 1.5 cups of almonds and 5 to 6 cups of water, and then I put 4 dates in and a little vanilla, and then you blend it on high, and it becomes creamy. And then you can get these nut milk bags from Whole Foods. They're like $3, and it's just like this mesh bag, and you pour it through that, and then you basically are squeezing it like you're milking a cow, and all the milk goes out, and then what's left behind is all the almond skin and the fiber, and it's so delicious. Like, I tried dehydrating. It's so dry. Like I actually like practically choked on it going down because it's just like the skin part and there's like nothing left in it. But the milk is delicious, and so that's what I use. I make like matcha lattes, and we use it for everything. So I make like a huge thing every day.
You made this one thing. It had the consistency of almost like fudge.
Yes,
Squares.
yes, the fudge squares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do? You have that recipe?
I can tell you what it is too.
Yeah.
It's 2 cups of shredded coconut. Yeah, that's something I give my boys to breakfast all the time.
Yeah.
Or if they just didn't eat much dinner, I'm like, here, at least have some of this.
No, I saw her speak at
Bright Start.
Bright Start, and she made it. I think I tried that.
Yeah, they're so, yeah, and they're so simple. But yeah, the basic is just 2 cups of coconut, and then like 3/4 cup of walnuts, and I soak all my nuts and seeds. That's something that is really, I soak them in water for 6 to 8 hours, and that makes it really easy to digest, because when you eat a raw nut or seed just plain, a lot of times it kind of hurts your stomach a little bit, or it's a little hard to digest. It's because they need to be soaked in water first, and that releases the enzymes. Yeah, for like 6 to 8. Yeah, with walnuts, the heavier nuts, and you actually lose half the fat, and the fat that's left, you absorb it like 100%. Protein goes out. So the walnuts, and then like 12 ounces of dates, And then that is your base. So that is what goes in the food processor. You just let it go until it mushes. And then I'll add like cacao powder. So like maybe start with like a 1/4 cup of cacao, raw cacao powder, the chocolate powder. And you can do whatever like. I've added chocolate. It's the pure cacao in like pure form, yeah, which is really high in iron and B's. So I give it to my boys like every day in some form. And then you can add like a tablespoon of coconut oil, and that kind of helps bind it together. And that right there, and you can even add chia seeds. I've done that. I've added chia seeds. I've added like some peanut butter because my boys are hooked on peanut butter. So like I'll put a little peanut butter in there. Huh? I don't have time for that. I haven't gotten around to that one lately. I just get organic. It doesn't have anything added. I get my good salt, sprinkle it in the peanut butter, stir it up. Yeah, there's, somebody told me that Silk almond milk is one of the only, which I haven't looked at Silk in a long time, but they don't add carrageenan, which is an ingredient that you have on your list. I don't know if it's organic. It's not. Okay. So almond milk is tough because most box milks have carrageenan added, which is, it irritates the stomach. So if you have kids that have like really sensitive digestive systems, colicky, anything like that, that's an ingredient you have to look out for.
What if they don't? Is it okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, it's like a raw fudge square. And you can just, it literally takes like 5 minutes to throw them in, grind it up, press it into a pan, like that thick, put it in the fridge for an hour, and then it's done. And you just cut squares. Yeah. No. I don't shred my own. I don't shred my own. You can buy like in bulk section at Whole Foods. There are certain things I do and certain things that I have to have already done. Maybe when I have a full kitchen staff, I'll be doing everything. But I don't have my kitchen yet, so.
Someday.
This year we want a place. I want a place that's like very mom-oriented and kids' foods and shakes on the go and young pudding, raw pudding for the kids and, The avocado pudding is in the blender. It's avocado and mango. It's like half an avocado, a fresh mango. You puree it. It's so good. That's like one of the first things I gave my boys with the coconut pudding when they were little, and it's so delicious. And if they have that like that for breakfast, it's good fats and stuff. It's really good. Yeah. My youngest one. My other one's like, oh, it's green. But you actually probably don't, if the mango's juicy enough, you probably don't need any, but if it's not grinding up well, then just put a little coconut water. Yeah, that's really good. I eat it all the time.
So what would be your top 3 kitchen appliances that we would need?
Vitamix and food processor. Those.
What kind of food, like everybody knows about food processor. I don't even know if I
I mean, you can go to Bed Bath. It's it's a circle like that. It sits on a base, and it has a blade that spins on the bottom with the lid. It's not a chopper. You just put you can just put the ingredients, hit the button, and it grinds it into, like the cookies that I have up there and the raw burgers. I throw the ingredients in the processor, let it go, and it purees all these nuts and dates and coconut into a fine batter. So. Sorry, I call them that because it's like a veggie burger, but once you dehydrate it, it's like a cracker. But it has it has about 15 different vegetables in it: basil, parsley, celery, red peppers. Yeah. Food processor, Vitamix.
Do you need a blender or is that a food processor?
Nope, you don't. Oh, juicer to me, but juicer can be, it's an expense. You have to be motivated and diligent with it. But to me, now that I have my juicer, I love it. I juice it all the time.
We just have about 3 more minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have something that you wanted to get?
Okay, well, I got through half of it. That's okay.
Have you come back?
I know, we'll do like part 2. But what I'm going to do is this whole outline that I have, I'm going to post it on my website today. So it'll be on the homepage. So everything that we didn't talk about, like I get into talking about like the dumbest foods, which I think we've covered most of them, but like I get into talking about brainy breakfast, like some breakfast ideas. Half of your breakfast should be 50% fat and good protein and that type of thing. And then
Can you just
Yeah.
give 5 foods that you really should try to avoid?
Okay, well, the one that I didn't get to talk to, it's an ingredient, and that's like my big thing. Well, canola, yeah. MSG is something we hear about in Asian cuisine, but it's, you know, it's hidden in hundreds and hundreds of different ingredients, and that's one that I really wanted to bring up because what it does, it's an excitotoxin. It overstimulates the brain, and it's one of the biggest causes for attention deficit disorder, for, you know, all types of issues that kids will have. A lot of it is MSG, and over 90% of snack foods that kids eat have MSG in it. And the thing is companies don't have to say MSG. They are allowed to hide it. And I gave you, I believe you have a list. It's probably the first.
Artificial and natural.
Yes, artificial. If it says natural flavoring, unless you know it's a good company, you know, organic, I've even called certain ones, 9 times out of 10, it's going to have MSG hidden. They're allowed to put over 300 chemicals in just by saying natural or artificial flavoring. So you've got to watch that. And then there's a list of, like, if it says, you know, maltodextrin, it has MSG, which you see in a lot of things, all these different preservatives, hydrolyzed protein, sodium caseinate. So I tried to give you a list just because these are just some of the most damaging things you can do for their little brains that are growing. And those are the chemicals that's going to get through into the brain. So that's why I think that is, you know, it's like you try and choose as many natural foods and stuff, but you really need to just look at the ingredients and just read ingredients, you know, and try and, yeah. Where are they on here? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I kind of spent over the last like couple years just going through, you know, contacting companies, looking at, you know, what do they have and everything, and so that way it can just give you an idea. A lot of your processed foods at a regular grocery store, you know, a lot of the times are not going to be as natural as you think. Even Whole Foods, like, you really have to look at ingredients. So, you know, anything, all of these additives, the MSG, you know, just watch the processed foods. And let's see, 5 things.
For yogurt, Dannon, Yoplait, Yo Baby.
Yeah, those actually have all been tested and they have MSG. It has yeast extract, and yeast extract is created using MSG. There's a lot of things, like Bragg's liquid aminos naturally has MSG from the whole process of the way they make it. It naturally has it. So that's why I stick with Tamari. I know, so I go to Tamari. Huh? The Go yogurt is the best. Redwood Hills Farm, like, it's really good. Like, especially if you get them used to it, you know, younger. I use Tamari instead of the Bragg's liquid aminos. I get like low sodium Tamari, and I just use that. I like it better than soy sauce, because soy sauce has a strong taste. Like, I'll make raw dressings and stuff, and I use Tamari, and it doesn't taste like, oh, that's Tamari, you know. It's a little bit more mild in flavor.
Are the Trader Joe's yogurts okay?
Yeah, they actually sell plain goat yogurt, which you can get and sweeten and add to smoothies and stuff. It's a better version of yogurt. It's still cow's milk, but it's better. To me, there's always a better alternative. So, sheep is wonderful. Sheep cheese, that's another one that's a great sheep cheese. Yeah. It's better, but it's still cow's milk base. So if you want like the best to digest, goat is the best.
You said whey protein. What type of whey protein?
You have to look. Unless it's some very, very clean, you know, pure form. I've seen a couple that will like call it out, like it doesn't have this, this, and that. Otherwise, like if you see whey protein isolate, the isolate, that means it's going to have it. Same thing with soy protein isolate, like all your fake soy meats. That's another one. Just stay away from most soy. Like soy and miso is better, or tempeh, it's cultured. You know, you can get sprouted tofu, but all the fake soy milk, soy cheese, all that stuff. Yeah.
So for the whey protein, what do you suggest that we put into the whey protein powder? For
You can actually get sprouted brown rice protein powder. I know.
You can make it yourself.
Yeah.
Sprouted?
You can get sprouted brown rice protein. Doesn't have any flavor. No. And Garden of Life has a raw protein, and I just saw they were having a sale on it at that pureformulas.com. And it's a raw protein made from like Brazil nuts, sprouted rice, different like seeds, and that's a good one too. Or hemp protein. Sorry.
You know what you?
Garden of Life.
I think we could go on for so much longer.
I could. I love to talk about this stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You can say it out loud. much.
you.
You
It
were
was very
awesome.
fun.
Oh my
Anytime you guys wanna
goodness.
talk, I'll
Yes,
talk.
we'll definitely have you back. So be sure you visit her website, and she's going to have the
Yeah,
notes
I'll
on there.
post. I have all kinds of recipes. I have a mom section. Ready? Okay, should we start? Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm a holistic nutritionist, herbalist, and I specialize in family nutrition, and I'm also very passionate about creating healthy meals and foods, and very much kid-inspired. You know, what will my children eat is kind of what leads me to create new recipes and stuff. And just a little bit about myself. I actually was kind of the health nerd starting at about age 12. I just became very passionate about learning all about nutrition, excuse me, and food, and I always wanted to know exactly, like, if I eat this, what is happening in my colon and my stomach and my energy. I know, and my whole family, my mom was like the Betty Crocker cook, where, you know, everything from scratch, but it was all butter, white flour, you know, pretty heavy. And so my parents were like, well, we need to get healthy, and my dad started looking into it from just how it affected energy and just even spiritual awareness. And then I just kind of took it forward and just continued learning and learning, and I, you know, would tell all my friends everything that was in their 7-layer burrito from Taco Bell. You know, this is what it's going to do to you, and by the time you're 25, your skin's going to look like this. You know, your skin's you're going to get these dots now. So it's always been a passion of mine. So it was very easy to decide what, you know, I wanted to do with my life. And when I was 15, I was put in charge of family dinner, probably 5 nights of the week, because my mom was a nurse, and she worked nights for about a year or two. And so it kind of put me in this place of just learning how to cook all over again, healthy, you know, how to create healthy foods that my brother and sister, who were 8 years younger, you know, would eat. And my dad was pretty picky. So it was kind of my platform to create recipes. And I now have probably 300 to 400 recipes that I've put together. I've done various books, and I have recipes at my website and stuff. And so, you know, it's just kind of evolved, and, you know, by the time I was 19, 20, I knew, you know, going into my studies with nutrition and herbology and food, and, you know, I would say one thing in, you know, working with clients over the last 20 years is, and just in all my studies is, you know, I don't believe there's necessarily one right way of eating for everybody, just because we are all so unique, so individual. I mean, your kids, one will be able to do certain foods, and another one, you know, eats other foods. Like, we are very unique, and so I have kind of adapted along the way different principles from, you know, raw foods and more plant-based foods, and, you know, there's vegan, vegetarian, high protein. I mean, it's all over the place. So I have women who I've worked with over the years that will come to me just frustrated, like, well, what do I eat? You know, there's so many different diets, and so my whole focus has been just trying to work with people on finding what's right for them individually and for their kids and their family. And, you know, one thing that I do feel like everyone could use is more plant-based foods in their diet, you know, more fresh produce and vegetables, nuts, seeds, you know, not just all processed foods and, you know, heavy meats and cheese all day long, chips, crackers, that type of thing. So that's always been, you know, very important to me, is just eat more plant-based diet, at least half of your diet, and then also just eat more organic foods, and just try and cut out as many chemicals and preservatives and pesticides as you can, you know, and that's kind of always been the foundation for everything I create and do. So what I want to do, I mean, most importantly is I'm a mom, and I have 2 boys, 18 months and 5, and they've kind of been my guinea pigs for creating all of the foods and everything I've done, because I used to be more about getting individual women healthy, weight management, you know, health issues, and then as soon as I got pregnant, it totally surprised us. We had just started a food line, we were selling to Whole Foods. I got pregnant, and we'd only been married for not even a year, and I just cried. I was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? You know, I just wasn't prepared, and then I just really got into it and just started learning everything there was about pregnancy nutrition and nursing nutrition, and I even created my own like homemade baby formula recipe for a lot of moms that I worked with that, you know, didn't have enough milk or had issues, or, you know, I would give it to my boys because I am not successful at pumping, so I would always, you know, have something that I could give them. So I've just kind of developed, you know, a lot of recipes and things over the years that are more about our children, just because it's there's so many unknowns. Like, what do I do? You know, what's the best first foods for our babies when they're 4 to 6 months, and you know, on and on. So one of the areas that I've always been interested in is the brain, and it oftentimes gets overlooked. When you think about kids, it's like, well, you know, you want stuff that's not going to make them constipated, and you know, good for their just overall health and immune system and digestion. But one thing that we forget about is their brain, which is, you know, the first 10 years of life especially, their brain is growing so rapidly, and that's going to affect the rest of their life. And so they need as much help in growing and, you know, keeping their brain as healthy as possible. And one thing that kind of triggered me into just reading more about brain health with babies and kids is years ago I was reading, you know, some research stuff, and as adults, we have something called the blood-brain barrier, and what it does is it actually protects. It's like a protection to keep a lot of like toxins, chemicals, because you know there's toxins in the air, there's pollutants, there's, you know, it's everywhere, and the blood-brain barrier protects our brain. So we have that built in. Now with kids, when they're first born, from like a baby till like 7, 8, even a little bit older, it's not fully closed. So they have this opening. And so the more I read about it, I was like, wow, that's kind of scary. They can eat things, and the chances of things going into their brain and affecting their brain, whether it's focus, memory, learning, and all those abilities, is at much higher risk. So that definitely, you know, I was like, okay, I got to look at, you know, what can we do to minimize, you know, harming their brains while it's growing. And so smart foods is what I like to call. I try and pick as many smart foods on a daily basis for my boys. And with the brain, it's 60% fat. So I thought that was kind of interesting that with the brain being 60% fat, it needs more fat. And we often forget about it. You know, we think about, okay, well, did they get enough protein today? Did they get enough vegetables? They got their fruits and good grains, which are all definitely important, but we forget about fat, you know, and as women, a lot of times women are so afraid of eating good fats that we just don't always, we're not used to cooking with good fats, or, you know, having as many good fats around, like coconut and avocado and that type of thing. So, you know, I always tell women, for women, fats govern our body. You know, hormones govern our body, and it needs fats. We need good fat. I eat probably, I think I counted like probably 10 times over the RDA for fats on a daily basis. It's, you know, it's very important. So for kids, they need the good fats, and it's not just, oh, well, they had these crackers that had some soybean oil, so there's fat, you know. Those types of fats don't count. What I want to talk to you guys and share with you guys are just the tips that I found of, you know, which fats and which foods will help the brain, and then we'll talk about the dumb foods that basically kind of dumb the brain down and not help it grow, you know, like it should. And another thing that I've kind of found interesting, it's the connection between, with the rise of ADD and ADHD with like hyperactivity disorder, it's become just like rampant. Almost every parent I work with, it seems like either one of them, their children has it, or one of their friends, and it's sad, and it's an interesting coincidence that, you know, with the rise of all these hyperactive disorders, you also have the rise in just processed foods like crazy. I mean, there's snacks and snacks. I mean, there's tons of stuff out there, even the organic ones. You know, you don't know everything that's going on behind the ingredients, you know. So unfortunately, over the last couple decades, you know, kids have been eating the fats that are not healthy, which we'll talk about, and they're not getting the good fats. And when you don't have the right fats, it's actually very difficult to focus and to pay attention, to obtain like knowledge and learn. And studies even show that kids who are eating the good healthy fats and good brain foods, they absorb 50% more of whatever they're learning in school, or even if it's just development when they're a toddler, they absorb 50% more in kids who are not eating all of the good fats and all of the good brain foods that they need on a daily basis. So I'm not saying that, you know, the brain foods are the reason why there's a rise in hyperactivity, but I feel like it's definitely a connection, and there'll be foods that we'll talk about later that's, you know, even more with that connection. But anyway, so with the smart fats, obviously everyone's probably heard about omega-3, which omega-3 is an essential fat. It just means that our body does not produce omega-3. So that's why you see so many supplements and people are always pushing, eat omega-3 because you have to get it from your diet. So, you know, one of the most common ones is like, you know, salmon, like good, you know, good wild fish that have the good omegas are obviously a good source. And then, do you guys remember chia seeds? Are you guys familiar with chia seeds? I know, remember the Chia Pets back in like the 80s? And when they first started coming back, I was like, oh my God, that's the same thing. People used to grow the little Chia Pets. But chia seeds have been around for centuries. And they're just amazing on endurance. They have 4 times more calcium than a glass of milk does. And you absorb it 100%. And the protein is really, really high. It's actually complete protein. And it's one of the few plant-based foods that have omega-3s. So that's one of those foods that just these tiny little seeds, you know, and so I try and slip those in where I can, in whether I mix it in yogurt, put it in a shake, yeah.
I've noticed with the whole foods, they have them in bowls in the seed form.
Yeah.
You can also get them in the ground, which is better.
I get the whole, because it's not like, yeah, you get, yeah, it's a texture thing. Like, for kids, like my 18-month-old loves it. Like, they kind of gel up when they hit liquid. They gel up a little bit. And they do that as a way, it actually helps your body absorb it, and it glides through your intestinal tract, so it's amazing for like cleansing and stuff. But the texture is interesting. You know, some kids like it, and if they don't, I always say put it in a smoothie, because they won't even know. And all it does is just thickens it a little bit, and you only need like a teaspoon or 2. So yeah, for kids. I mean, you can do more like the Chia Chewies that I have. Those are actually chia seeds. The little squares that are kind of flat. I hope they all. The little dots, those are chia seeds. Oh, that's a raw chocolate cookie. There's like these flat, they're not the prettiest looking. The real chewy, they have little tiny chia seeds. Oh, that's a raw burger. Let's see, who's got a chia seed? They're like flat little squares like a fruit leather. Yeah, like that. They're really kind of flimsy. Yeah. And that's what my boys eat most mornings. They like peanut butter on it, but it's just like chia seeds, sprouted sunflower seeds, soaked raisins, and vanilla and cinnamon, and that's it. And they're really, what was that? No, I have 2 dehydrators that are like this big. From back in the day, like when I started the food business and we were gonna like open a place, and then everything changed obviously with the boys. So I still have these dehydrators. So I dehydrate. My dehydrator goes like probably every 3 days because I do cookies and Chia Chewies and, you know, just. No. I mean, you could definitely do something and bake. You know, you could bake it, but the thing with chia seeds ideally is if you can have them raw, then you get everything out of them. So like with these, I dehydrate them at like 115 degrees, so they're still raw and have. You get more of the fats and stuff, but you can definitely add them to things, like add them to yogurt, add them to cereal, you know, smoothies, that type of thing. So chia seeds are great. Like if I at least get them to have a couple teaspoons of that in their yogurt in the morning or something, then I'm like, all right, we're good. You know, like I kind of like go through what I'm giving them out of my list of like, these are the superfoods for them, you know, for the day. So chia seeds, like hemp seeds, you know, you can get hemp milk, that type of thing. Dark leafy greens. Kale is actually a really good source of omega-3, and it has a good amount of protein. So like your greens, surprisingly, have your good fats that you don't. Those are great. Yeah, love kale chips. If your kids will eat those, like, yeah, I always have, like, what I try and do is get dehydrated snacks, and that's what they get to snack on, like whether it's dehydrated burgers, or I do like raw chips, or you can buy at Whole Foods, like they have like flax crackers, they've got all kinds of different things, and for them, like, they're tasty, you know, like they have raisins or whatever they're sweetened with, and to them it's still something fun to eat, so I try and. Yeah, there's some that are like, they put nutritional yeast on them, which is a high B12, good B vitamins, and it has a cheesy flavor. So any of the ones with the yeast, like my boys will like sit there and eat nutritional yeast plain because they love the taste, and both of them have always been like that. Like they love it on toast with coconut oil, on sprouted bread, and the yeast and like Himalaya pink salt, and they think it's like. I think that might be on the list of things. No, like sprouted toast, and then I lather coconut oil, like the good, like raw coconut oil, instead of butter. Yeah, my son thinks butter is weird. He's like, what is that? Yeah. But he's all about coconut. He's all about coconut. So it's in the butter section? Coconut, usually it's in like the oils. Yeah. Spectrum has it, Trader Joe's has it. The jar, yeah, like in a glass jar. Yeah, and it's, coconut is, I'm like one of the big, I could have a website just about coconut. I am like the biggest coconut advocate. Like we eat everything coconut. We do coconut milk, coconut oil, coconut butter. All of my cookies are like half dried raw coconut. Because the oils are so healthy and so good for their skin, it's really good for constipation. If you have a baby eating solids, just like kind of heat up a little coconut oil and like mix it in the food and give it to them. Or young coconut water. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, at that age I was doing like coconut pudding. That was like their first food at 4 months was I get young Thai coconuts and scoop out the meat with the coconut water and puree that, and like they still eat it. But I have that on the list at the end. And coconut oil, and then you can get the Himalaya pink salt or Celtic sea salt. Those two are the best salts because they have over 70 minerals, and they haven't been changed. Like those don't affect your blood pressure. They're amazing, and I even say like try and make sure they have at least, you know, a quarter teaspoon of it throughout the day, just because of all the minerals in it. Whole Foods has the pink Himalaya. You can actually get it in bulk there now, and then that's usually like the best price. And then you can get Celtic salt in a bag. They have that. It's a little bit more expensive, but I love the Celtic salt. I've been using it for like 20 years, and I'm just. Whole Foods, most like any health store, probably Whole Foods, Lazy Acres. Yeah, those are amazing. And I sprinkle that on top, and it tastes like butter. Coconut oil with the salt, it really tastes like butter. Like that's how I scramble their eggs.
Ooh, that's not too sweet.
You know, there's a flavor you have to get used to. So, but some love it, some, you know, what's that? But like I worked with a family last week, and they had a 12-year-old son who was anti anything healthy. And I brought my coconut oil, I brought my salt and different things, and I brought some like sprouted bread from Trader Joe's, and we made it for him, and he ate it, and he loved it. So I was like, see, that's a good testament, because he was like, you know, didn't like anything, but it's very buttery in flavor. I mean, you can bake with it. I get a gallon tub of it, and we use it up in a month. Like that's what we use. I put it in their bath water. I cover their skin. Like I put coconut oil on my face and neck probably 7 times a day. Because I'm just more prone to dry skin, but you can have oily skin and it balances it out. It's amazing for skin. I do. And for the boys, like when they get out of the bath, everything gets covered, and like especially if they're in diapers, you cover all the little parts and the little, you know, crevices with the oil, and it's the raw. You want to make sure it's raw, cold pressed. Raw or cold pressed. Yeah, I always have a jar in the bathroom, and it's really good for like preventing yeast infections. Like my first son had one, and I was like a boy having one, and so I kind of learned from that. And you put coconut oil, and it actually kills yeast and bacteria. So if you're constantly putting that on them, it's wonderful. Like, yeah, I can't say enough good things. And the great thing, like for moms, you know, I always have women are like, coconut oil, is it going to make me fat? Is it, you know? And coconut oil in its raw form, it actually, the body cannot store it. It goes right into your liver, and the liver uses it, and then it goes right into your bloodstream, and you use it as energy. It's like the best fuel for energy. So that's why I'm always like giving coconut oil in the morning if they're kind of tired, you know. It's just a really good endurance energy food.
So they just do the coconut oil, the salt,
And then,
bread,
and then some nutritional yeast. Yeah, sorry.
so you really want to get that last ingredient.
I know, I get going. Dave's Monster Bread. Is it local?
No, they have it on. It's absolutely organic, sprouted, incredibly wonderful bread. What is the name again?
That sounds amazing. Dave's Monster.
It has a seeded one, and it has a 21 grain that is
Really? And you only can get it at like Vons? Really? Yeah, because I'm always at like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. Dave's. Okay. Like, is it still pretty soft? Ooh. Wow, I'll have to try that. Yeah, because they get kind of bored. I get the sprouted, you know. But they've never had anything else. Like, my son thinks white bread is really weird because it's so like doughy, and like I'll show, I'm like, look, let's make a ball. It's like dough, and then like, yeah, this is what it does in your stomach, and then it expands, and then you're gonna get gassy, and your stomach's gonna hurt, you know. So he'll be like, okay, no, 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 you know. But like, you know, kids are very visual. Like if you can explain things and show them, or like tell them, like, yeah, you eat this, it's gonna give you more energy at school. You're gonna feel better. You're, you know, with my older one, he's very much. He's been so used to me always analyzing everything that like he's into it. So if I tell him this is going to make you not get as sick, this is going to help your stomach, because he's had the flu once and was just like never wants that again, you know. So I'm like, this will keep you from, you know, having that. So if you explain things, even like when he was 2, I was explaining things, and he understands, you know. He's telling them like that's like our weekly trip is I actually take them both grocery shopping with me, but I've been doing that since they were babies, and so to them it's like an outing, and like we'll talk about foods, and my older will like pick a food and be like, well, you know what, it's got this ingredient, and you know, he's like, oh, is that organic, is that, you know, so we're always talking about it, you know. And like we have a green superfood powder that I have mentioned at the end in a morning like recipe, a morning shake that I do. And so he'll take his green drink with him to school, because I figured at least if, you know, he only eats, I don't know, his banana and carrot and crackers or whatever, because he's such a very minimal eater, that the green drink is kind of like the assurance for getting all the nutrients and the minerals and stuff. So I have like this greens that doesn't taste great, but I mix it with like coconut water and orange juice, and I'll blend it up, and I'll put some probiotics, you know, and put it in his lunch. And he is so proud of that drink. Like he pulls it out, and it's bright green. He's like, look, boys, look at boys and girls. This is my green superfood drink. You know, he's like, it makes me healthy. And he's like so proud to drink it. It's really cute. So, and he tells them all about it. Like, you got to have your mommy give you a green drink, you know. But like he's been having it, you know. I started giving him sips of these things when he was 9 months old. And normally, you know, people are like, oh, wait till later. And, you know, I drank green drinks with the wheatgrass, spirulina, algae, all that stuff. I was drinking that when I was pregnant, when I was nursing. And then, you know, when they see you do something at a young age, they're going to try it, and they're going to be much more open to it. So, you know, for them, it's like a cool thing. My 18-month-old runs in the kitchen, and I make him his own special green shake, put it in a sippy cup, and he just like waddles around with it, you know. And then we'll do like green veggie juice in the morning, and they love, you know, especially my youngest loves that, and he'll drink that with a sippy cup. So I do kale, celery, cucumber, spinach, just everything pretty much green, and then I throw in a couple apples. Otherwise it's, yeah, which without the apple it's pretty grassy, so it definitely makes a difference. There is a company, Ultimate. I go online. Yeah, Ultimate. And they have a really good coconut, and I get coconut shredded and everything from them. Really good stuff. So. And I've had clients like, well, I'm doing a cleanse, so they'll drink the green machine, and it's pasteurized. As soon as you heat any type of fruit or juice or the greens, it's like drinking sugar. You know, it's obviously not as bad as drinking a Coke or anything like that, but it's still, you're not getting the nutrients as soon as you heat the greens. And you know, especially for women, we don't really need heated fruit juice anyway, and it's a lot of like cooked sugar. So I figure if you're gonna have, you know, if you can juice it, then the apple is ideal. And some places like will sell raw and pasteurized, so you know, yeah, it doesn't do what it needs to do. I have a Vitamix. I love my Vitamix. It is so worth the buy. We bought our first one like 15 years ago, and I finally, just because I'm making food constantly, I finally got another one, just because it started to get kind of weird about them, but they're so worth it. I mean, I make dressings in it, I make pâtés in it, I do.
All your smoothies, like the smoothies, do you do all that in Vitamix?
Yeah. Vitamix, yeah, that's all you need, yeah.
The juicer, my husband is under the impression that when you juice things that you don't get all the nutrients that you need.
Well, what's left behind is the fiber, and there's certain vegetables that are better off juiced, like kale. If you're eating, a lot of studies will show if you're eating a lot of just raw kale, it's actually irritating to your stomach lining, and so you're better off with kale with either cooking it, which gets rid of the oxalic acid, or if you juice it. So there's just certain ones that are better off, and then you know it does become nutrient dense because you're mostly just losing the fiber. Like what I do is I juice it, I take all the fiber, and then I juice it again, and so what's left is mush that tastes like nothing. So you are, you know, you're not getting the fiber, but I'm not always as worried about fiber because you can get it in so many you know, different things. But the nutrients you're getting, definitely. And it's a good way to get like kale and spinach in their raw form. And to get your kids to eat it, because my boys, they'll do certain vegetables, but they're not like crazy about, you know, all the greens. So I'll juice, I mean, I even juice romaine lettuce, I juice all kinds of things. So that's with the juicer, yeah. But you could do the Vitamix and throw stuff. I just wouldn't put kale or spinach in there because that's going to be too much on their stomach. So like if you wanted to throw like in, you know, cucumber, celery, that type of thing, then I would go for it. I just wouldn't do the kale. It would, just the apples. You only need like 1 or 2 small apples, and it's just enough. It's so refreshing. I love it. Like they'll begin to crave it. I think it's really good. So, all right. So I will go on to. Oh, I didn't finish the smart fats. Let's see. We talked about coconut. Oh, avocado is a huge one. If you watch babies, usually they naturally gravitate towards avocado, and if you think about it, their brain needs it. So avocado is wonderful. Add it to everything. The yolk of an egg has good omega-3, so that's always a good one. When my son was little, like 11 months, or no, he was about 13 months, he's never been big on the texture of scrambled eggs, so I would actually take an egg yolk and put it in like a little dish with a lid and set it in a pot with already boiling water and just turn off the heat and let it sit there for like 4 minutes, and that's enough to cook the yolk, but it's still runny. And it actually just has a nice rich flavor, and I would pour that into yogurt, and they would have no idea that they're even having it. So that's a way, like, if you're like, okay, well, how do I get them? Because neither of my boys like the texture of eggs. So it's just one of those things. And you get the protein and, you know, the fats. Another one is with dairy. And I know dairy is a very controversial. I've done talks where all we talk about is goat versus cow's milk and whatnot. And that's actually one of the first things I started researching when I was 14. was just all about like how cow's milk affects the body. And I actually haven't had cow's milk of any sort in about 20 years. So it's been a while for me. But we do like goat dairy. And, you know, not to say that you can't, because obviously, you know, kids need the fats, and, you know, butter has fat, and, you know, and cow's milk yogurt and stuff. But the best thing for them is goat's milk or goat yogurt or goat cheese. And the reason being is with cow's milk, the fat and protein molecules are really, really big. If you think about it, you know, with cow's milk, they're trying to make a baby cow grow really fast, really big. So the molecules are really, really big. And when you put it into a baby, even when they're a year or two, it is so hard to absorb. And so it actually can lead to more allergies, like kids that are more prone to allergies, or just more mucus and colds, because it is just so hard to digest. And also the ratio of minerals, of calcium to magnesium, in cow's milk is an opposite of what the body can handle. So when it actually goes into your body, it has to pull calcium out of your bones to help balance the ratio. And then you can try and break it down. So by the time it goes through your whole digestive process, you're not absorbing any calcium. And it actually will take sometimes a few days for it to completely go through your digestive system. So any babies that are colicky or very sensitive digestive systems, I say please don't. And you put them on the goat's milk, the goat milk or goat yogurt, you know, any of the goat products, and they usually do 1,000,000 times better. Even babies that can't handle lactose, like with cow's milk, oftentimes can handle the goat products. And the reason being with goat is that the molecules are very small, and it's the closest in makeup to breast milk. So their body can handle it and absorb it better. And also the ratio of all the minerals matches up with our body. So not that it's the perfect supplement for breast milk by any means. It is a better alternative, especially when they're young. I mean, their little bodies are developing, and you know, so you want to give them as many foods as possible that are easy to digest and that they can use, and you know, is not going to affect allergies and that type of thing. So that's why I'm very, very big on goat. And like on my website, I have a baby formula recipe, and it's like part goat milk and then part coconut water, which is amazing for digestion, has all these electrolytes and minerals. So I combine the two. And then for babies who can't handle lactose, goat yogurt, the culturing process actually removes it. So I have actually had moms do like a baby formula. They will take plain goat yogurt and then mix that with like coconut water and, you know, just a few different things, and use that for formula. because it's like plain goat yogurt is probably the easiest to digest of every dairy thing out there. So, you know, I'm not saying you can't, but you know, the best form of cow is if you can get like the raw butter. Then it has the enzymes to digest it, and your children will be able to absorb everything from it. So, you know, and I know like the raw cow's milk can be a little scary with it not being pasteurized. I mean, if you were ideally living by a farm who had cows and you could get fresh milk, then I would say go for it, because they have the enzymes. They can digest themselves. They're not going to sit and, you know, putrefy in their stomach. So it's kind of a touchy thing, you know, but obviously cow's milk yogurt would be better than cow's milk. It's the cow's milk and the like cheddar cheese are the ones that I always just get a little squeamish about. And I've talked to a few different naturopathic pediatricians, and they've told me the same thing. They're like, I would tell all our patients, just don't even go there when they say, oh, they're one. You can give them whole cow's milk. Just don't. If you can avoid going that route and trying the goat's milk, they get used to it younger. My boys think, like, we get this hard goat Gouda from Trader Joe's, and it grates like regular, you know, cheddar cheese, and it's delicious. And it has a picture of a windmill. It's like from Holland, Dutch Gouda. But it's so good, and so I give them hunks of cheese, and that's what, to them, that's like the most delicious cheese. And I get, Redwood Hills has a vanilla goat yogurt that's sweetened with maple syrup, and it's really good. And so, Redwood Hills. Trader Joe's, not Trader Joe's, that would be like Whole Foods or Lazy Acres. Trader Joe's has a really good goat milk for anyone that has, like, still doing yeah, I've actually talked to their farm, and like everything is organic as possible, natural, like family owned. So their goat milk, like my 5-year-old drank my bottle combination until he was 4. Obviously we moved it to a sippy cup, but he loved it so much it was really hard to get him off the bottle, because we gave him that as soon as he stopped nursing at 17 months, so he got hooked on it. But
Is there only one kind of goat milk? Is it just like
yeah, you never want to get low fat. Never get anything low fat of any, even if it's cow's milk. Buy full fat for anybody, because as soon as you start tampering with it and pulling things out, it's made to be a whole food, so your body can't digest it as well. Even if it is cow's milk, if you're gonna do it, just do whole. And if they're just love their cow's milk, if you could sneak in like some coconut water, which you can get at Trader Joe's, they have like the big ones. The coconut water will help to digest it. So that's why anytime, like I have a 6-month-old doing goat milk, I would say do, part fat and part coconut water to help just with the digestion and absorption and stuff. And coconut water is actually considered to be one of the closest things to breast milk. In other countries where moms can't nurse, they will give them coconut water, because it actually has lauric acid, which is a fatty acid, and it's only found in coconut water and breast milk, and that's it. So I think that's kind of interesting, So I started giving it to my boys at 4 months, like, you start making baby foods or pureed stuff. I always mix coconut water in everything. Coconut water and then coconut oil where I can. And my second son, it was like so different from my first, because I learned so much. Used it with my second son, and he never had problems with eczema, with constipation, with like really anything, And I think the coconut and the fats and the good oils and the coconut water, it's just, yeah. I mean, you can buy the fresh young Thai coconuts, but you can. I ruined 3 chef knives, because I used to get them before they had the containers of it everywhere. I would have to cut them open, and I still get 2 a week just to make the pudding with the meat. But yeah, like the Vico at Trader Joe's, I think it's like $3.80. That's, I think, the best price. Costco even has it now. I think same brand. So we usually go through about 5 or 6 of those a week in our family, a big 33-ounce, because we make all our smoothies with it, and and I make raw almond milk every couple days, and so my youngest loves that. So I'll mix that with coconut milk or coconut water. Coconut milk doesn't have enough. It doesn't have the protein. It has the fat, so that's why you can combine different things to try and mimic breast milk as much as you can. But yeah, it's lacking the protein and the calcium and stuff. So that's why coconut water versus coconut milk. Coconut milk's a little harder to digest because it's more fatty, especially like for babies. So that's why I always say the coconut water is the easiest to digest of everything coconut. It goes right through you, and it just has all these minerals, and so that's probably your best one. So.
What is your take on vitamins? I know you should probably be able to get all of your.
Yeah, I know it's tough because like even organic food is still so depleted. Like the soil is just depleted. Even if it's organic, you're not getting all the minerals and nutrients in the vegetables that you did, 50 years ago. So, it's a touchy one. I didn't do vitamins for a long time, and then I got into just only doing like whole food vitamins. Like there's companies like Garden of Life is one that I've used, and their supplements are all like totally food based. So like they have a kid's multi that's like these little chewable bears, and I get those and I give him like a half dose, every other day. But all of the ingredients are literally from like, okay, blueberries, like it's totally food. It's not extracted vitamins. So when it's in the whole form, they can absorb it. But once you start doing all these extracted vitamins in their system, unless, your pediatrician's like, yes, they're deficient, we got to do something, ideally you don't want to pump them with all of these extracted vitamins that are synthetic, and it's actually going to be more taxing on their organs. So, if you can find anything that is like whole food based, like Garden of Life, Mega Foods has one, but it's a swallowing one, so it'd be more for teens or mini. But like Mega Food I've used all their prenatals. I love that brand. I wish they had a chewable kids. But yeah, the Garden of Life, the kids multi, and then one of the things I was going to get into is with the good fats like DHA, and that's a supplement that I do. I often will use, and you can get like the fish oil. You always see cod liver oil, different. And actually the best DHA omega you could give kids is from algae, because fish actually, they eat the algae and that's how their body processes and creates the omega-3s. So if you go straight to the source, you're actually getting more and it's easier to absorb. So you can actually, I forget which brands I've used, there's different ones, but it'll just say like algae DHA. And they have, I have one that I just add to their shake. And it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. It's like a dropper full, and it doesn't really taste like much. Oh, I know. There's one that I didn't get. It was a little pricier, but Barlean's has a vegan, it's all plant-based. It's an omega-3, but it has algae and flax, and I want to say maybe one other oil. And it's really good. They have like flavors of berry, and I think they're sweetened with like stevia. But it's it's really good. Barlean, Barleans, and they have, if you look for their one, just ask them which one it's for kids, it's flavored, it has the DHA, the algae. It's really good. And my 5-year-old's really picky, and I saw it at Whole Foods. The dropper, there is a website I would write down, it's pureformulas, one word, .com, and I've been getting like my greens that I get, the algae. I've been getting all kinds of stuff through them because they're usually like 30% cheaper than Whole Foods. They don't charge, there's no tax, and it's always free shipping. I love it. And I've been able to find almost, like the Garden of Life Vitamin Bears, my vitamin mineral greens that I get, and then they have an algae that's a dropper, and they might have the Barlean's one too. So I would check. And if you type NEXT in capital with 10 next to it, when you go to checkout, they have like I think it's like coupon code or something, you get 10% off. So always type NEXT, N-E-X-T, capital, and then the number 10, all one word, like 10. And you always get 10% off. I've been using them for a long time. I'm constantly like shopping around for the best, and they're really good, and they're pretty quick. So yeah, so that would be one that I would definitely. So the wrong or bad fats, obviously like hydrogenated oils, we've all, we've all heard about hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated, companies are getting much better about cutting that out, but you still see it in a lot of like your very traditional, Kraft, Doritos, some of those will still have those. So, always look for that. Obviously fried foods, yes, they're getting fat, but it's not the right fat. You want as much raw fats and foods, fats that have not been fried and heated at, 500 degrees. An interesting thing back on the coconut oil is coconut oil, you can heat it up to 500 degrees and it does not change. As soon as you heat almost every other vegetable, even olive oil, after like 200 degrees, it completely changes. Like the molecules change and you don't absorb the same fats. It's not as healthy. So most of your nut and seed oils, avocado oil, or olive oil and stuff, you want to try and eat raw as possible. But coconut you can cook with. So, but grapeseed is another one that you can actually heat, and that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, grapeseed's another one with coconut that you can cook.
I've heard olive oil is good with
You just don't ever cook it.
Okay, but
Yeah.
raw olive oil is.
Raw olive oil is amazing. I have people doing like
Instead of
juice
butter
cleanse all the
everywhere.
time, and if their stomach hurts, I'm like, go drink a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and it just lubricates the stomach, and within like 5 minutes, their stomach feels amazing.
What oil do you cook with then?
What?
Coconut oil?
What do I cook with?
Yeah.
I cook with coconut almost all the time, but grapeseed oil, if you want an oil that has like no flavor, grapeseed.
Coconut does have that.
It does, yeah. Like you have to get, you have to get used. Yeah, yeah.
What about sunflower?
Sometimes you don't. Oh, it's so good in stir fry.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the taste. Oh, and stir fry. I do tamari and coconut sugar and coconut oil and kind of caramelize them, and then throw the veggies, and it's really yummy. Sesame oil ideally should not be heated. So, you know, that's the hard thing is like, and all of those oils and nut seed oils, those are all omega-6, and those are oils that we don't need very much of in our diet, but if you look at the average diet for adults and kids, you know, everything processed, cookies, crackers, so everything that's already made has omega-6. Like rarely do you see omega-3 fats in a processed food, and there's so many processed foods in the diet. So like, you know, soybean oils and everything, or canola, which is like one of the most toxic oils, and like I want to shoot them for even putting it in food that children eat, you know. But like you see, you know, the cottonseed, which one am I missing? Safflower, sunflower. It's not that sunflower is horrible for you, but in large amounts, it's not meant to be in the body. And what it ends up doing is it disrupts your balance. So as soon as you're eating all these omega-6, but not the omega-3s, your body's out of balance, and your brain cannot focus. You know, those good fats help them focus, help them stay controlled.